What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. I was going to say Monday again, but I don't want to have a repeat of Monday. It is about 12:30 p.m. California time. Excuse me. Latest activity. Got some movement stirring up here in Southern California once again. It looks like around the Salton Sea area, just on the Brawley seismic zone, and also southern edge here of the San Jacinto fault zone. That's the lengthy fault here. Secondary to the San Andreas fault. Nothing big for now, but it is lighting up here in the last hour with a 2.2 and a 1.9 earthquake. Continue to watch this area over the next couple days, as this area has seen quite a bit of rainfall recently from Tropical Storm Hillary. So we'll see how that accumulation of rainfall affects the faults out there. There's quite a few faults that are locked and loaded, so to speak, for movement. Up here north of the Ventura area, this is our earthquake swarm area. Looks like it's been continuing overnight with quite a few twos and some ones out there. And a whole bunch here about 5 o'clock in the morning. Actually, goodness, most of these look like they were just after midnight or so. Did see a 3.9 and quite a few other quakes in here. Got about 33 earthquakes, most of these just after midnight. So things are still kicking up out here in the area north of Ventura, outside of Santa Paula area. So continue to watch that, as it is on a fault system. We're very close to a fault system that's capable of producing a 7.3, and quite a bit of offset has been accumulated here. Talking about 11 meters or so of strain built up over this thrust fault. So just watch that. Southern California just had a bunch of rainfall, and sometimes all it takes is a little lubrication to get stuff going. So we'll watch that in Southern California. Also some movement here off the San Andreas fault. A little back-to-back earthquake activity here near San Ardo. I believe that's right. Looks like about 8 kilometers deep for that earthquake activity. There's definitely some fault systems that run through here. USGS not showing all of the faults, but looks like it's in between the San Andreas fault and the Rinconada fault. Rinconada fault, Espinosa section. Either way, some activity there in the Coast Range, it looks like, or just outside the Coast Range. Over here around Long Valley Supervolcano, about 10 small earthquakes scattered out and about. Nothing spectacular going on, just outside the caldera region of the Long Valley Supervolcano. Further up north in the Northern California, did see some activity as well. Speaking of 333, goodness. So that's kind of odd, 333 at 30 seconds for a 3.3. Oh, man. Woo. If you guys know me, 333 is a pretty important number there. That is at the southern end of the Cascadia megathrust area. Did see some movement up here last night as well, 2.3, about 18 kilometers deep. So kind of watching this area as well. Over further inland here, got an earthquake near Mineral, 1.4. Now that is very close to the Mount Lassen volcano, roughly right about here. 1.4, nothing big. Let's go ahead and check out the volcano there real quick. Mount Lassen. We really haven't checked it out in a while. It's been awfully quiet up there. Sometimes they have earthquake activity, sometimes they don't. But let's go ahead and see. There's that earthquake on the map right here, 1.4. See if any of these seismograph stations are working. It looks like they are, but man, where's the 1.4 at? Let's see here, 822. Should have been here, unless that's that's pretty close to the earthquake. Should pick up that 1.4. Maybe right here, showing it on this seismograph station. It looks like you can see that red line indicating a signature. Also, maybe another one, but it doesn't look like there's any earthquake swarming, any major stuff going on. And this was at local time here. This would be at, looks like, just before 1 in the morning, or somewhere around there, about 1 to 1:30 in the morning for that earthquake. And that right there local time 0051, just before 1 o'clock in the morning. So a couple small earthquakes there recorded on the map, but nothing big going on. We'd see it for sure. Up into the Pacific Northwest, Cascadia kind of moving up here as well. 2.6 off the coast of Canada. The Cascadia subduction zone obviously extends well up here past the Vancouver Island ranges here. So we got 2.6, 6 o'clock in the morning. Pretty shallow earthquake there at the surface. And some movement around Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens. Nothing major going on there, just a couple smaller quakes. And last night, a little bit of activity stirring up around Yellowstone, mostly around Lake Yellowstone with a couple smaller quakes. Let's go ahead and check out the Yellowstone overview here real quick. There's some of that activity that stirred up last night. A couple spikes up on the map. And looks like we may be getting some wind events again, or thunderstorms built up there. We did see some yesterday for a couple hours, some heavier winds, higher winds, I should say. And that stirred up that signal that we see all too often up here at Yellowstone National Park. It's not magma movement. It's very consistent with the timing. When wind picks up, when thunderstorms key up, that's a signature that can take place out there across the seismograph stations, and many at that. Earthquake activity, for the most part, looks just very minimal over here. What we've seen last night around Lake Yellowstone Lake. And a little bit here at Maple Creek. Well-defined spikes right here in the mix. All right, let's get back here to the earthquake map here. See what we have going on. Up here in Nebraska, goodness, we're starting to get more and more earthquake activity further north. Outside of the Red Cloud area. Just north of the Kansas-Nebraska border. 2.9 and a 2.5. Been watching a trail of activity here, stretching up from Texas, Oklahoma, and up around this area of the Great Plains. I don't think there's any oil fields up here that I know of. Satellite imagery. Check out the great state of Nebraska. Doesn't look like it. It looks like a lot of farmland. I don't see any oil pumping operations out there, but occasionally they do get some earthquakes. Just not all that common up there. Texas last night was rocking slightly. They did see some 2s and 3s there. In the last 24 hours, mostly outside of Pecos, Texas here. This is the oil fields that are kicking up out here in the desert. You can barely see them, right? If you look really closely. So we'll zoom in. We'll get a little bit better feature. These are wastewater disposal ponds. Quite a few oil pumping operations out here. Tanks. And these earthquakes strike literally, I don't know, I'd say a couple hundred each month out here outside of Pecos, Texas. Let's see what we got for the last 30 days out here. 215 earthquakes in the Texas area here outside of Pecos. And again, mainly in those oil fields, that are massive out there. Texas has quite a few oil fields all over the place, including up here around Big Spring. You got the Permian Basin up here. Yeah, so, that's continuing. That's still just a sign of general plate stress out here within the North American continent, which is, almost always under stress. But you get these oil fields and the wastewater disposal operations, and there's an earthquake process that kind of involves or happens when stuff like that takes place, when these operations are in gear. All right, let's see. New Madrid seismic zone, pretty quiet right now. And let's see, Puerto Rico Trench, couple earthquakes here. Nothing big going on, some 2s and 3s. Down here into the South America region, looks like we had a 4.6 just after midnight. In the Chile area, 106 kilometers deep. Mostly smaller microquakes in there as well. New Zealand, New Zealand was really kicking up here last night. Looks like USGS reporting one of those earthquakes. The 5.3 disappeared. Remember, they had a kind of a weird 5.3 up there on the map. It looks like that finally got removed and settled with one earthquake there with a 4.6. Definitely a handful of quakes up and down the Kermadec Trench here in the last 24 hours. Some of that deep, some pretty shallow. Let's see if New Zealand has moved at all in terms of their earthquake activity. There's that 3.8 from yesterday. Well, doesn't look like they're reporting on that one that was offshore in between Australia and New Zealand, South Island. But it sure showed up on the seismograph station here. Let me see. A couple ones here in the last few hours or so. Some threes as well. North Island. Most of this, though, on the Kermadec Trench. Let's check out the earthquake drums here and see what we have. I'm sure we'll see the earthquakes from last night. Mostly going to be showing up here across the South Island station. And it looks like there was two. At least in my book, there was two. What's going to be these right here? I believe it was a 4.6 and a 4.5. But I'm only seeing one earthquake showing up here. But either way, since then, it doesn't look like too much activity has triggered up there across the New Zealand area, aside from some very small quakes, mainly up here around North Island. But we'll continue to keep New Zealand in that watch area, considering the back and forth activity here, and now deeper movement quakes up here across the Kermadec Trench. Getting some movement here in our quiet zone of 4.5 near Vanuatu. Some deeper movement quakes and relatively a mixed bag here of shallow and deep quakes across the area of the Banda Sea. Again, this has been our quiet zone. We'll watch that here. It should fill in throughout the day today. Up around the Japan area, a couple smaller quakes, including what looks like a 4.8 up here, just off the coast of the east coast of Japan. 4.7, 8 o'clock this morning, 36 kilometers deep. The Kuro-Kamchatka, pretty quiet for now. And the Aleutian Trench up here, subduction zone, mostly smaller microquakes across the area. I got some earthquake activity outside of the Himalayas here in China. This is China area, but they mentioned well north of the India area, 4.8 in the last hour. And see what else we got. Looks like some movement there in Turkey early this morning, a 4.7 coming in. And let's see here, one earthquake down South Africa. Nothing going on too much across the Indian Ocean. Things look pretty calm. And some smaller quakes here across the Atlantic. But aside from that, goodness, pretty quiet out there across the divergent boundaries. So right now we'll continue to watch areas of not only New Zealand down here in our quiet zone, but California still appears to be pretty active today. And we'll watch this swarming area, watch this activity in Southern California with all the rainfall. I think it's noteworthy to keep an eye on this area right now. The seismograph stations here, the live one showing some movement there in Southern Cal, near Barrett. That's down outside of San Diego, roughly right about in here somewhere. So it should pick up some of this activity that's stirring up in the extreme portion of Southern California. All right, the Big Island of Hawaii, kind of make a full loop around it. Sometimes I forget about it, but got it covered right now. Looks like earthquake activity is kind of backed off. Yesterday we did see a pretty good swarm of earthquake movement. The last one was 8:30 my time, local time, so a few hours ago, for a 1.9. The latest informational statement here from the HVO was put out here today already. Currently not erupting in terms of Kilauea Volcano on Big Island. It is exhibiting signs of elevated unrest, mostly due to earthquake activity and inflation. There's the earthquake swarm we're talking about from yesterday. 25 earthquakes of a depth of about 1 to 2 miles below the surface, south of the crater. This is the third earthquake swarm in this area in the past week, and is likely caused by movement of magma in the South Caldera region. There was a tilt meter. Looks like over the past day, the tilt meter recorded a small deflationary tilt trend. However, the Sand Hill tilt meter southwest of the summit continues to indicate inflation. So either way, we got stuff moving down below the surface here, and could kick up any time. Definitely could kick up any time. We'll continue to watch that volcano. All right, space weather activity here, and then I got to get going. Got somewhat of a Another pretty busy day. We are at a flat line here across the solar flares right now. Really nothing within the past 24 hours or so. Minor C flare activity, but aside from that, the chart is pretty quiet. And in the last 7 days, no M flares, only a handful of moderate C flares. This is kind of a trend right now. Little quiet spell on the Earth-facing side of the sun. The UV filter array here. We'll go ahead and check this out, see what we have. Pretty calm conditions out here. Noticing some bright features across the eastern limb. Those are a couple newer sunspots coming to join the lack of the party, so to speak. There's a giant sunspot region here, but it's fairly complex. Not a whole lot of instability, it's fairly stable, not complex, is the word I'm trying to find there. It's massive. Again, fairly stable. Around the bend, looks like maybe another newer sunspot. This one here looks a little bit more complex, but this one's fairly stable for now. And we've got some further sunspots coming around the bend we'll have to keep an eye on. Hopefully we'll get some activity stirring up out here with the sun as we move forward and continue our march towards the solar maximum in about June 2025. So this should kick up. Although we do get, a little bit of quiet periods on occasion. We're just coming down from a pretty good peak here of the sunspot number progression, also the SFI. This is the observed sunspot number progression and also the observed solar flux progression here in these little charts. This is the forecasted line. So we're still way above there in terms of, the energy and also the sunspot numbers. It looks like it might go down a little bit, but I expect this to pick up here for sure. All right, anything going on for the auroras? Doesn't look like it. Things pretty calm across the board in that department as well. Until we get, a major coronal hole or a major CME Earth directed, things are going to remain calm and quiet. Forecast shows a whole lot of green, but unfortunately that greenery is not in the sky. Weather outlook today, mostly thunderstorms out here across a good portion of the Intermountain West area. Not looking at anything majorly severe. There's a thunderstorm forecast. A lot of this moisture left over from Tropical Storm Hillary. Got a slight chance out here in the Sierra Nevada mountains, but nothing major is expected. And there is oh goodness, what is that one? It's got a name already. Hold on a second here. Let's go to the National Hurricane Center here real quick and check stuff out. Harold. That's the name. Tropical Storm Harold. Last night it was, oh man, I forgot. It was something 9, number 9. Let's see. So yeah, Tropical Storm Harold right now is into Texas, bringing up with it some moisture. There's a tropical storm warning that looks like that's probably going to pass here pretty soon, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. That is going to really quickly die into depression and head off towards the northwest. Right now, maximum sustained winds here with Tropical Storm Harold is at 45 miles per hour. Again, really not that much of a concern in terms of the potential to threatening weather out there for the folks in Texas. Just a little bit of rainfall. All right, let's see. Looking at the long-term models here, maybe a hurricane spinning out here in the Atlantic. That's going to be caught up in the upper level patterns out there and be drifted back out to the Atlantic without affecting the land here in the eastern portion of the states. And well into September, it looks to hold steady for that quietness, so to speak, in terms of hurricane activity in the Gulf. Really not seeing any major pattern change out there that would allow these hurricanes to kick up into the Gulf area. Here is the cooler weather out here in California. For now, that's going to change slightly. High pressure wants to build back in here across the west coast, bringing with it some warmer temperatures. Man, I don't like this here. That looks not good. That means that September could be a hot month here for California and the West Coast. Some neutral or average conditions out here across the remainder of the country. Yeah, again, this is a ways out, venturing into the second week of September, which really is not that far away. I mean, it's April. It's August 22nd already. I wouldn't mind some April weather, but that would mean I'd have to repeat a summer again, and I just don't want to do that. It was a pretty hot summer out here in California. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here again. Got a pretty busy day with school going on, and I got some other stuff I got to do. So make sure you guys subscribe while you're here. We're getting super close to 100,000 subscribers. I don't know how close we are. I think let me look here real quick. Pretty close. Checked last night, and it was just under 100. So we're at 99,911. So literally all we need is a handful more, technically speaking, only a handful more, about 89 people coming in here to subscribe, and we're at 100,000. Goodness. So hopefully we hit that in the coming days. I know we picked up quite a few subscribers with the hurricane activity and the recent California activity as far as earthquakes go. So welcome to the new subscribers. By the way, for the new subscribers, we are doing a 100,000 subscriber giveaway. Not $100,000, but we're giving away surprises to 10 people once we hit above 100,000 subscribers. And we'll go over what those prizes are and the entry details pretty much on what you need to do to enter if you want to win some prizes there for our 100,000 subscriber giveaway. We did one at 50,000. That was kind of fun. I think we gave away prizes to 3 people. This time we're going to do 10. Going to pick out 10 people. It'll be random. It'll be a random drawing, but this will be after you enter into it. Similar to what we do for our member drawing, how we put people's names in the fishbowl and we pick out people. It'll be similar, but we'll go over the details. I'll make a whole separate video of that once we get above 100,000. So we're not quite there yet, but we're getting close. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tonight with the update, unless something major happens. Keep an eye on a couple areas, folks. New Zealand, quiet zone out here. In Southern California, just seems like it really wants to start moving. Earthquake swarms, earthquake activity picking up and down the state. Just keep an eye on it. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.